Okay, so hi everyone. I have a couple of questions for us today. When was the last time you were afraid? Afraid of trying something new, afraid of failure, of rejection, of change? And when you were feeling afraid, how did you react to it?
In life, when we are faced with something scary, usually our first reaction is to run. And when it comes to failure, we are so conditioned to fear it despite its inevitability in life. But what if I told you that your biggest fear could change your life?
When I was growing up, especially in school, I was always riddled with some type of fear and anxiety. This was me when I was growing up. I was an anxiety girl. I was deeply insecure and self-conscious. I had zero confidence. There was a persistent fear of being watched and judged by others, of making a mistake, of failing. I even was scared of speaking up in class, even when I knew the answer. And, I just had this deep, deep fear inside of me, and I didn't know why. And this persistent fear, I was so scared to even, do public speaking. And it just gave me a physical illness, I would say.
Physical reaction.
Yes. And having said that, one of the biggest lessons that we both learned is that you simply cannot grow without fear, pain, or failure.
That's right. Now, fear is innately connected to pain and failure because we're so scared of messing up. And for many of us, the one thing that is standing in the way between us and the life of our dreams is fear, right? But I want to tell you that when you find yourself in those moments of being so scared of doing something, that's actually the best indication that you should go for it because fear does not mean stop. You don't have to be fearless to take action. And actually, when you take action while acknowledging your fear, that's one of the most powerful things that you could ever do.
But you know what? Facing your fears is not easy. We know that, guys,
It's
because
not.
it's so hardwired deep inside our brains that we want to stay in our safety net, and it's so hard to get out of that. But what if you knew for certain that your future would be great? You would happily welcome the changes and the failures to get there, right? Well,
Mhm.
speaking of which, I experienced a defining catalyst during university that would forever change the course of my life. It's a little something called a pageant. Yes, so I was 18 years old and I had attended the University of Pelita Harapan. And there was something called Miss UPH Scholar. And Elizabeth was actually the one that pushed me to join because I had zero plans of joining. Because my first initial reaction was, first of all, that's completely not me. I don't want to make a fool out of myself. And that's something out of my comfort zone, so I didn't even want to try. So does this mindset, is it familiar to you guys? Because I never tried it before, I immediately equated that to me failing at something new. And I suppose most of us are faced with such conundrums in our lives. Maybe it's, not taking that design course we've always wanted because we're not confident in our design or sewing capabilities. Or maybe it's you not signing up for student council because you don't think you're a good enough leader. Or maybe it's not signing up for that singing competition because you think 100 other people are so much better than you. Well, all I see here are missed golden opportunities because we're afraid to try. We're afraid to go forward. And this completely renders us paralyzed. We are stagnant. We are afraid to go forward and take a step. And that is one of the saddest things when we have so much potential within ourselves, but we don't do anything because we are afraid. Now, after mustering all of my courage, I decided to try out for Miss UPH. And I remember the committee, they asked each contestant what quote that best represents them. So I chose, try and fail, but never fail to try. And these words have empowered me throughout the years countless times. Whenever I'm feeling afraid of trying something new, whenever I'm afraid of going out of my comfort zone, I always go back to these words, and they have empowered me to push through. And throughout the competition of Miss UPH, I learned so many things about myself. It truly opened my eyes to my potential and capabilities that I was unaware of up until that point. And to my utter disbelief, I actually won Miss UPH, and I gained something even more profound. I experienced growth. I experienced a shift within me. I let the universe show me all the infinite possibilities, and that's what we want you to do. That's what happens when you say yes to things. As students, that's what we want you to do, to try new things and experience new things, because you literally never know where it's going to lead you. And it just goes to show that you need to go out there and try new things. That is something that we cannot tell you enough. Now, this new led belief, it led me to joining for Miss Indonesia right after I graduated university. And right before I competed, I remember one of the senior figures in the pageant industry actually said to me, Maria, you're not going to win. I think that you shouldn't get your hopes up because you're not going to win, and you should actually join a less prestigious pageant. And at first, my reaction was hashtag speechless. But then I realized, so many people in our lives, they're going to underestimate you, and they're going to tell you that you can't do it, that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, and the list goes on. And when this happens, you just need to ignore them. You ignore them, you work 10 times harder, and you make it happen. And I'm so happy that I didn't listen to that person, or else I would have never won Miss Indonesia. And this just goes to show you that you should never let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do.
That's right. So while Maria found her success, my story was a little different. In 2013, I graduated with a degree in broadcasting communications. And with that degree, I wanted to do one thing, which was to become a TV reporter. Now, I remember my very first audition for a local TV news station, and I had never been that nervous in my life. I went in there, and the task was to pretend like you were reporting a fake wildfire. So that's what I did. And you guys, the audition went horribly, horribly wrong. I completely embarrassed myself in front of so many people. And that experience really scarred me to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I'm not meant to be a TV reporter. Maybe this isn't for me. So I was disappointed, and I abandoned that TV reporter dream altogether. And instead, I got a job in fashion marketing. You see, life is full of these little detours that you just never expect. But fast forward 6 months later, I realized, okay, this marketing job also isn't for me. So I quit my job, I moved back in with my parents, and all of a sudden, I didn't have a clear direction in life. Like, I did not know what to do with my life. Fast forward a few months later after that, my next move was to, drumroll please, join a beauty pageant called Putri Indonesia. Now, you're probably thinking, was this the best idea? I mean, your twin sister had just won Miss Indonesia 2014, and oh my God, the pressure. Imagine if you didn't win. That would be so embarrassing, so embarrassing. But I felt the fear. I did it anyway. I was passionate about it. I gave it my all. Did I win? Not even close. I think I placed fifth or something like that. Anyway, I still remember the moment on stage where they didn't call my name. I was so mortified. I felt dejected and demoralized, and I was heartbroken. And my dad, he sees me and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy this happened to you." I was like, "What? Excuse me? You're happy that I lost?" And he goes, "Yeah. I mean, you're going to learn so much from this failure. Not everyone has an opportunity to have an experience like this. You're lucky." And so I slammed the door in his face because annoying, so annoying. But in hindsight, he was completely right. Failure is so essential to the process of success. And in that moment, I learned that failure is an opportunity to change your course. And boy, did that happen. But first, to understand the present, our present, who we are, let's take a look at the past. So our father, he grew up very poor in a small town called Blora, Central Java. And he was raised by a single mom who, even though had no education, could neither read nor write. She was an incredible woman with a strong, tenacious, fighting spirit. At 30 years old, our father, he bought himself a ticket to the US and decided he was going to try to find a better life for us. So the plan was that he would go there, find a job, get settled, and then me, my sister, and our mother would follow him shortly after that. So he lands in California with no money, no friends, no contacts, no job, and he could barely speak any English.
And so at the airport, he proceeds to find a phone book and he calls all of the Indonesian names that he could find in the hopes that someone would help him. And these calls take hours, but eventually he finds a good Samaritan that not only offers to pick him up from the airport, but offers him a place to stay and it helps him find a job. Now, this is like a miracle in itself. And so, long story short, he finds odd jobs at first. You know, he works at a McDonald's to clean their bathrooms and their floors, and also a pizza delivery man. And eventually, he finds enough, saves enough to rent his own apartment. And that is when Elizabeth and I and our mom, we fly to America to be and live with him. And so against all odds, he actually made it happen. He didn't stop until his goals were achieved. And just like our grandmother, just like his mother, he had grit and tenacity and he persevered, and that is what made him unstoppable.
That's right. Now, this unstoppable mindset has been passed down from our family generation to generation. And so when my father told me that he was happy I'd lost the competition, what he was actually saying was that he knew I was destined for something else. He knew that this experience would make me a better, stronger, wiser person. So let's talk about this unstoppable mindset for a second. What does it mean to be unstoppable? Well, it's an approach to life where you say to yourself, nothing can stop me. Not unstoppable in the sense that you will never find yourself in impossible situations where you feel dejected and defeated and frustrated, because life is so full of those moments. Not unstoppable in the sense where you'll never find yourself not having any answers, because you will.
Yes, unstoppable, just like Elizabeth said, is the belief that no circumstance in life is going to stop you from moving forward. And just like what she said, are you going to be afraid? Are you going to be scared? Yes. But will that stop you? No. And that's exactly how we want you to react to pain, failure, and fear and adversity in your life, is to have that unstoppable spirit and to say to yourself, even despite everything, I'm going to push forward.
That's right. Okay, so just to recap, I had just lost the pageant and pretty much failed at everything I pursued post-graduation. But like I said before, failure is an opportunity to change your course. And I was going with the flow, surrendering, when all of a sudden, bam, I joined this online fashion competition where the prize was to get to go to New York Fashion Week in New York City. And bam, I win it. And then I'm in New York and I have this incredible opportunity to work with ENews Asia, which coincidentally is my TV dream network, is my dream network to work for since I was young. And I realized, oh my God, this dream that I had abandoned all those years ago was presenting itself to me. And all of a sudden, these new doors of opportunity show up in my life. And I was thinking, okay, this is failure plus reflection, and this equals progress. So I was ready, and I said to myself, okay, I actually don't suck at this. So I went home from that trip with one goal in mind, which was to become a permanent ENews Asia host. So the process was not easy. It was a whirlwind process of auditioning and talking to the team and waiting and introducing them to Maria and spearheading this idea
It
of
was a
maybe twin
process.
hosts could be a thing, and pleading my case as to why they should hire an unknown with no experience. But finally, my perseverance paid off. In April of 2015, Maria and I officially became ENews Asia hosts, the first Indonesian correspondents in the history of ENews, and I fulfilled my dream of working in TV. Since then, we have traveled the world and interviewed incredible people like Naomi Osaka, Diane von Furstenberg, Indonesian stars like Afgan, Rosa, and a fellow TED speaker, Mas Didit Maulana. In conclusion, if I had not gone through all those ups and downs, I know for a fact I would not have found my path to E.
So in the beginning of this talk, I told you guys that as a child, I suffered from social anxiety. I had zero confidence in myself and I hated public speaking. Now, fast forward 20 years later, an integral part of my job is public speaking, like what I'm doing right now with all of you guys, which is so insane to me, And a lot of people, they ask me how they too can be confident in public speaking. And I always say to myself, it's so funny. If only they knew what I was like as a child, if only they knew all of the fears and the struggles and the failures that I had to overcome in order to be here today. And honestly, I'm so thankful for all of the adversity that I've been through. And so the next time that failure or pain comes into your life, please ask yourself, what is it trying to teach me?
Mm-hmm.
Because the lesson here is always learning, always evolving, and trying to find your highest potential.
It's time to reassess our idea of pain and failure. Instead of avoiding it, why not embrace it? Run towards it. Turn your pain into power. And as author Glennon Doyle beautifully puts it, she says, you have to walk straight into the battle to claim your victory. There is no rise. You cannot rise without a crucifixion. I love that. So with that said, I invite you all to consider, what would your life look like if you didn't let your pain, your fear, and your failures hold you back?
Thank you.